I'm Steve Brule with Studio Brule, and I'm here live with one of the Liberty Bells from London, England, Elizabeth. The other three Liberty Bells are unable to join us tonight, and Elizabeth has quite a few interesting topics. I think the first we're going to talk about is a scandal of the BBC pay gap, where apparently BBC is paying male presenters more than female presenters. Can you tell us what that's all about, Elizabeth?
Yeah, well, it's just like you said, really. And obviously, you know, the mainstream media is going crazy over it. Now, I'm quite delirious with tiredness, so I'll read you some notes I made on it, which I actually posted on Facebook, but it's fairly controversial. I said that the fact is that a lot of women get there based on more on their God-given looks than their characters or expertise. And it's a lot harder to get to a similar position as a man where you are judged on your character and expertise. So the monetary value, which is based on viewer ratings, is actually reflective of the value they bring to the programming, i.e. the BBC won't pay people more than what they're worth to them. The underlying inference in this news, though, is that this is endemic to wider society. This couldn't be less the case. Under 30 women are out-earning men, and afterwards, when they start taking time off for children, their pay reflects this. They're still getting equal pay for equal work. They're just working less. What do you think to that, Steve?
Very interesting. Now, one thing I didn't realize, maybe you can clarify, you suggest there that the pay is linked to viewer ratings for presenters? Is that a known fact?
That is my belief. I haven't seen that written down in, you know, sort of facts, but I can't see them paying anyone more than they're going to bring to the show.
Yeah, well, they must have some way to determine. Well, certainly ratings are monitored very closely with these organizations, right?
And
Yeah.
obviously you'll have the agents pushing for more and more money, but, you know, so will the women.
Right, you would think so. I have to admit, I don't know anything about that world where people are paid in upwards of six figures for reading the news or whatever it is they do.
You know, this is one of those problems as well, you know, which are sort of symptomatic or symbolic or something of feminist problems. These are problems that affect the sort of top 1% of very, very fortunate women, you know, and they're earning an obscene amount. And it's just ridiculous. Like, it's such a first world problem, you know. And at the other end of the scale, we have all these women and some men going to jail for not paying their TV licenses. And that actually, the TV license enforcement is sexist because more women than men are at home during the day, and the investigators come during the day to see if people have got TVs when they're not paying for a license. So more women get convicted of that.
Interesting. It's definitely a first world problem, but even within the first world, it's a upper crust first world concern.
Yeah.
Of course, the men and women alike at the top of these kind of pay scales are paid huge dollars. In Canada, I don't know if it's the same in BBC, but in Canada, you know, I work from home, so I have a chance to watch the news quite a bit, and I noticed that on the major channels, especially on CBC, which is our Canadian propaganda channel, paid for by taxpayers, it's almost all female news anchors and mostly female news reporters. And during the daytime, from about they start at 6 in the morning. The day programming goes from 6 in the morning till about 5, I believe, in the afternoon. And most weeks there's 4 or 5 shows every day. So you're talking 5 days a week, about 20 to 25 news shows on each of those channels. And the several times I've monitored it, and it's only female anchors. 25 shows all week, all female. And most of the time, they will have a female news reporter, and I'd say a majority of the time they will be interviewing females on site. Some shows you'll sit there for an hour and you wonder, did I even see a male face?
Wow.
It's so biased towards the female hiring that it's just impossible to not see it. Do you have the
Good
same thing in
grief.
the UK? Do you see that kind of thing?
You know what? I used to watch the news every night, and then when my kid got old enough, my eldest got old enough to kind of be aware of things, I stopped watching it in case ugly things came on, and I started listening to it on the radio. And then when his language developed, I stopped listening to it on the radio. So now I only get it on my phone and my computer. But I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to take this call. I'll be 2 minutes. I'll just tell them I'm busy.
Okay, I'll try to entertain the audience here. Not sure. I guess I'll give you an update on what's coming up that Elizabeth's going to talk about. Those male Tory MPs apparently get the most abuse online in the UK, more than the female MPs. I'm not sure what that's all about, but Elizabeth will fill us in on that. There's a new Men's Human Rights Connect, which is purportedly to help people who are working in the men's human rights area to get together and organize events. I don't know if it's protests or if it's actions, legal actions or whatever, but to help get organized that. Elizabeth is back now, so maybe we can jump right in with the story, Elizabeth, about the male Tory MPs getting more abuse.
Yeah, okay. So we've got, you can hear me all right? Yeah, I've
Yep.
muted, I unmuted. A research team from the University of Sheffield has investigated tweets from just before the election between the 8th of May and the 8th of June 2017. So, broken down by gender and party, male Conservative candidates received the highest percentage of abuse, followed by male UKIP candidates, and then female Conservative candidates. So this is the complete opposite of all the news recently, which has been about the misogyny that female Labour candidates get, and everyone's been saying how awful it is and going on about it. So more specifically, Jeremy Corbyn and Theresa May received the most Twitter abuse. Sadiq Khan, in the aftermath of the terror attacks, was the third most abused politician. And then as far as male Tory MPs go, Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt were the male Tory MPs who received the most abuse. Boris got 8 times as much as Diane Abbott, who's been crying about it. And Jeremy Hunt and Tim Farron also got more abuse than Diane Abbott.
So it looks like a case where the female politicians are more sensitive to
Absolutely
pushback than the males are. Of course, it's no surprise that Theresa May would get a lot of abuse, being as she's the top dog at the time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, top dog always gets the most abuse.
But you know what? She's also a Conservative, and everyone knows that Conservative women don't count as women, right?
Good point. Good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Mm.
Yeah, conservative women do take a beating from the feminists for sure. They're double traitors, right?
Yeah.
No,
although she has worn that "This is what a feminist looks like" T-shirt.
Who? Elizabeth?
Theresa May has.
Theresa May? Is that right? Fascinating.
See, wearing the, wearing
Folks,
the T-shirt.
if you're listening, I did put the link to that article in the comments. So if you want to look up the research on Twitter abuse during the recent election in London, it should be there for you. Shall we move on? Elizabeth,
Sure.
There was this issue of Men's Human Rights Connect website. Can you elaborate on what that's all about?
Okay, so the MHRA Connect site, which, are you going to put the link to that in the description?
Yes, right now.
Yeah. That is a platform for people to connect and work on projects together, basically. I've just found out about it today and I've joined, but I haven't had a look, but it sounds really good. And since I'm mentioning that, I thought I'd better mention antifeministpraxis.com, which is a great website with content by like Hannah Wallen, Karen Strawn, Janice Fiamengo, Fiedel Bogan, Nick Redding, me.
Terrific. I'm putting that in there right now as well. Is that also about organizing events, or is it just a networking, communicating sort of site?
What, the men's human rights?
The anti-feminist praxis you mentioned there.
Oh, anti-feminist praxis. Well, in the drop-down menu, that has a non-feminist meetups section. So you can go there and just get in touch with people, basically. I've had a few people get in touch with me after a post on there.
Is it geared towards real life meetups?
Yeah,
or online meetups?
No, it's no real life
getting
meetups.
Together, like,
so it's split up by regions and countries.
Terrific.
And you meet people you can meet up face to face with. And on anti-feminist praxis, also there's some great, in the drop down menu, there's the Dragon Horde that's got just all these miscellaneous cool links that are very interesting. And it's also got a pamphlet section with leaflets that you can print out. There's one written by Karen Strawn called Feminism Was Never Not Rotten. So things you can print out and share, which is fun.
Yeah, that's great. That's quite a crew of people signed up that you listed off there, that some well-known names.
Yeah, some really good content as well. And then on a sort of theme, the other thing I wanted to mention was John Davis's new Gender Studies for Men online course, which is coming soon. Should be here autumn 2017. I've actually got a coupon like 2 days ago to try it out. So I will report back when I get a chance to get on it. But I spoke to him about it, and I think his sort of words will put it best. He said to me that I've been an avid MRA for the past 4 years since I retired. I had to keep my mouth shut during my career, which was as an international trial lawyer, because of the gynocentrism in government and the legal system. However, in my interactions with other MRAs, I've noticed that we could all benefit from some clarifications on issues and concepts that we are all discussing. So I've written 6 MRA books so far, and I decided to launch a low-cost course so that everyone can get on the same page about things like misandry, gynocentrism, androphobia, feminism, and a lot of other concepts. So that's going to cost about a tenner, which is not very much at all.
A tenner is £10, I take it, right? Okay.
Have you got the link to that YouTube video as well, the promo?
Yes, I just put that into the comment section, and I'm going to put all of these links in the description when the video goes live after we finish broadcasting. And that's just, folks, if you just what we've covered, and we've been online here probably 10 minutes, and that's 4 very interesting things, 3 of which are actual organizational and useful for anyone who is interested in even just meeting with other people of like mind. So that's great sites. The Anti-Feminist Praxis, the MHRA Connect, and John Davis's men's course. Quite that's a lot to bring to the table here today, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for those.
Pleasure.
Should we go on to this other one, which sounds interesting? Now, I find this interesting because I'm guessing that the artist in question here is a feminist, because it seems that only feminists are absolutely obsessed with their vaginas. And the topic here is a Japanese artist facing 2 years in prison for making a kayak with a scan of her vagina. I don't know how you go about doing that, but maybe you could tell us about that, Elizabeth.
What more can be said? That's the story in a nutshell. I mean, I actually find it sort of beautiful and functional. I think it's great, and I think it's just incredible that she's facing this time in prison, but it's also very funny.
It is funny, and
I guess she probably knew what she was doing. She probably knew full well that she'd be facing time in prison for this.
And is there an article associated or just a photograph here?
Oh, have I not sent you the article?
Well, let me just call it up because I didn't have a chance to look at
Hmm.
it. It just has a photo of her getting her vagina scanned, I guess. Maybe that's just a propped photo. A kayak. I want to see what this kayak looks like. Oh,
Yeah, there's a picture in the article I showed where it's kind of packaged up. I'd like to see it as it sits in an art gallery, but maybe it never got there.
there is a picture of the. I don't know if that's the whole kayak, but you know, if you didn't tell me that that was a scan of her vagina, I wouldn't have guessed. It would just look like some
Yeah.
curved out. But I
Well, it's
guess
kind of like it's got a very organic kind of look to it, doesn't it? Which I actually like. I think it makes a great kayak.
I mean, if you just saw it for the first time, you'd probably say, "Well, that's a different shaped kayak, but it looks like a kayak. Looks like a whitewater kayak, I think."
It looks like it's been in the wars.
Yeah, it's
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm this popular tonight.
okay. Do you? Okay, Elizabeth has gone off screen for us, so I'll try to entertain you folks. If you have a comment about the kayak, put it in the comments there. Would you want to sit in a vagina-shaped kayak? I mean, there's a lot of places you could go with that, not the least of which is that she can actually walk through it. So one size fits all. I presume that kayak wouldn't exclude very many from the looks of it. I think that's about all of our topics tonight. So I might just sign off here. I'm not sure how long Elizabeth is going to go, but those are the topics that were on our list to cover. So sorry for such a short show tonight, folks. But join us again next week for both Bettina and the Liberty Bells, I hope, again. And oh, you're back, Elizabeth. I was just about to sign off.
I'm sorry.
Do you have anything else to add in today, or should we call it a day?
I think my kids are getting a bit restless, so yeah, let's call it a day.
Okay, so we'll be back on next week with the Liberty Bells. Hopefully more of them will be able to join us. And don't forget Bettina Arndt Tuesday. Again, I believe we'll be on with Bettina Arndt to continue our very fascinating discussion about sex within marriage and other things. So thank you very much for joining us, and see you next week.